a proud Medford graduate from the high school. And just to let you know, he has run 157 marathons. If you're not sure how long a marathon is, it's 26.2 miles, and that's if you get to run a straight line the whole time. But he's here today to talk about how to do the best that you can in everything that you do. And without further ado, Mr. Dave McGillivray. Thank you so much, Dave.
All righty, thank you very much. Let's hear it for your principal right there. Come on. Yeah. All right, so first of all, I just want to say that I really appreciate the opportunity to come speak to all of you. I've done about 1,900 motivational speaking appearances over the last 40 years, and the ones that mean the most to me are the few that I've done right here in Medford, because this is where it all began for me almost 50 years ago. I went to the Medford school system, I went to the Hancock School, the Davenport School, the Roberts Junior High School, and graduated from Medford High School. And so Medford means a lot. I started my own business. I had a running store right here in Medford on Salem Street. I opened up my sports event management company right on Salem Street. So Medford means a lot to me. And it's interesting how Medford begins with M-E, me. And you can sort of, maybe I can leave the city, but you can't take me out of Medford. Get it? Can't take me out of Medford. So I'm really proud and honored to be back here. Before I begin, I always like to ask who I'm speaking to. So does anybody in the audience here, anyone here, actually run? Raise your hand if you run a little bit. Okay. Does anybody walk? All right. What do the rest of you do? Eat and sleep all day?
Oh, yeah.
I figured that. All right. So what this is all about is, interestingly, when I was your age, growing up right here in Medford, I wanted to be one thing and one thing only. One thing. It's what I wanted to be, and I wanted to be an athlete. I wanted to be an athlete, but unfortunately, I had a challenge. And my challenge was, well, you can see it. I was vertically challenged. Not the tallest guy around. I wasn't tall when I was growing up in the Medford system. So it was really tough to make the teams. And anytime my friends would pick sides, they'd always say, I got Jack, or I got Pete, or I got Ralph, or I got Fred. I got Sally, I got Jane. They picked the girls over me too. And it was really tough. And then anytime I went out for team sports, unfortunately, I was always the last one cut. So it was really tough. So for me, I had to dream, and dream big. And I wrote a children's book a year ago called Dream Big. Because when I was little, growing up here in Medford, I was little. But I had big dreams. And I'm going to tell you about a few of them. So here I am. I dreamed about being an athlete, playing second base for the Boston Red Sox, a guard for the Celtics, or playing for the Patriots. But unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. So I didn't dream. I'm the race director of the Boston Marathon now. I didn't dream about being a race director. I've dreamed about being an athlete. And that's my head on Larry Bird's body. But that's what it's all about. A lot of you kids in the room here, adults, we always have dreams, aspirations, goals, objectives in life. And it's not always an easy path to get there. Sometimes there are hurdles, and sometimes there are pitfalls, but somehow, some way, with your passion, you'll be able to find a different path. So here I am in Medford, and my friends are picking sides. You can turn it up if it...
How do I overcome this? How do I prove to them that I'm not the worst? that I am good.
So here my friends even picking sides, and I was always the last pick. In fact, I wrote a book called The Last Pick. So here's a picture of the high school basketball team. Medford High School, 1972. So which one in this picture is me? None of them, I got cut. That's the problem, I'm not in the picture. And the coach, who's the guy right here on the upper right side, the coach, he comes up to me after he cut me, and he puts his arm around me, he looked down at me. Everybody looked down at me. And he said, Dave, if you were 5 inches taller, you'd be my starting guard. And I thought, Coach, I thought it had to do with ability level, not how tall you were. So I challenged the senator, 1-on-1 to 21, guy number 30. He was 6'5". I was 5'4", 0.387 on a good day, and I beat him. And I threw the ball off the court, and I said to myself on that day, right here in Medford, that I will never, ever, ever be told I'm not good enough, that I don't belong. And I went home, thank you. So this is what I did. I went home that day, and I put a sign over my bed. There's signs everywhere in life, right? I put the sign over my bed. Please, God, make me grow. Well, obviously, he did make me grow. Or did he? And I look back on my life in retrospect, and I said, son of a gun, he did make me grow. Made me grow in other ways. He made me grow morally and ethically and spiritually, intellectually and mentally. He made me grow internally. Because that's where it's all happening. It's who you are inside. It's not who you are physically, right? So what did I start to do? I started to run. Right here. At Hormel Stadium. Right there. I started to run. Why? Because nobody can cut you from running. You just go out and run. Bye-bye. And I did, and I've run about 150,000 miles since then. I've run 157 marathons and done all these different things. I just took a different path to become an athlete. So when I was 12 years old, right here, around Spot Pond, I ran around Spot Pond on my 12th birthday. It was 6 miles. Then I come home and I had cake and ice cream, and I said, might as well go burn that off. I went and ran around again. So I ran 12 miles on my 12th birthday. I thought that was pretty cool. So when I turned 13, I ran 13, or 14, 14, and 15, 15. You can see a theme here. So then when I turned 54, I started at the finish line of the Boston Marathon, ran to the start, turned around, ran to the finish, and then ran into Fenway Park in front of 32,000 people. And I did it to benefit the Jimmy Fund. And the Jimmy Fund's the fundraising arm of the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. And I did it for these kids. Here's 2 little Jimmy Fund patients running the last 100 yards with me inside Fenway Park. So then when I turned 60, I ran 60 miles on my 60th birthday. And people say to me all the time, what the heck are you going to do when you turn 90? And I say, well, first of all, I want to be breathing. And then I want to get out of bed. I don't know. Maybe I'll decide that when I turn 90. But I have a motto in life, and this is my motto right here. It's my game, so it's my rules. Same with you. Your game, your rules, your life. It's up to you to decide what you want to do. It's up to you, and that's how I live my whole life. So then I heard about this thing, the Boston Marathon. I was 17 years old, senior at Medford High School, and I heard about the marathon, and I said, I want to do that. So I called up my grandfather, who was a supporter of my athleticism. I said, Grandpa, I'm going to go run that race in Boston. He goes, oh, they call that the Boston Marathon. I said, oh, well, that's a good name for it. Well, I'm going to run it. He said, okay, I'll meet you at Coolidge Corner. I said, where's that? He said, 24 miles. I said, okay, Grandpa, here he is. I said, okay, Grandpa, I'll meet you at 24 miles. My brother drove me out to the start. I took off. I'm running. I got to the hills in Newton about 18, 19 miles, and bam, down I go. Flat out in the hills in Newton. I get taken to the Newton Wellesley Hospital in an ambulance. They took me to the hospital. I get to the hospital. I call my parents. I said, will you come pick me up? They said, where are you? I said, I'm in the Newton Wellesley Hospital. They said, what are you doing there? I said, never mind. Just come pick me up. They came, they picked me up, they drove me home. I called my grandfather, no answer. I called him again, no answer. Finally, 9 o'clock at night, he answers the phone. I said, Grandpa, where have you been? He said, Dave, where have you been? I've been waiting all night for you. The old men go by, street sweepers go by. No Dave. I said, I know, I quit. He said, you what? I said, I failed, I quit. He said, nah, you didn't quit. I said, I didn't. What'd I do? He said, you learned. I said, great. What'd I learn? You learn you cannot go along in life and set reckless goals. You had no business being in that event. I said, you're right. He said, I cut another deal with you. I said, what? He said, now you train. There's a novelty. Train. You train for it. He says, and I'll be there. I'll promise you I'll be there for you next year. I said, deal. Deal. 2 months later, my grandfather died of a heart attack. Signs of things to come. And I said, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. I said, so I was 18 years old, and I was training. I was running 120, 130 miles a week. I was possessed. I said, I'm gonna do this race, and the day before the Boston Marathon in 1973, I got sick. My parents said, you can't run. I said, I have to run. The Medford Mercury is saying, Dave, running in memory of grandfather. I have to do this for Grandpa. They said, well, you're too sick. I said, can you give me something that very few other people have ever given me before? What's that? I said, a chance. Just give me a chance. I know I don't feel good today, but tomorrow's a new day. Who knows, right? They said, okay, fine. They drove me out to the start. I took off. I'm running. It was awful. I was so sick. I kept going. I get to the halfway point, and I saw my parents standing on the side of the road. And there's my mother. What's she doing? She's crying. Why? Because that's what mothers do. They cry. Why? Because they're worried about you. They're going through more pain than I'll ever go through. Worried about you. But then there's my father, and what's he doing? He's taking pictures of my mother crying, you know. Cry over here. I kept going. I got to the hills of Newton where I dropped out the year before. I'm doing a survivor shuffle over the hills. I get over the hills, and finally at 21.5 miles, bam! Down I go again. Drop out again. 21 and a half miles. Now, I want to be an athlete, right? I said I wanted to be an athlete. I'm the last one picked all the time. I'm the last one cut all the time. I drop out of my first Boston. I drop out of my second Boston Marathon. Can you say loser? Because that's what's going through my head right there. Like, maybe it wasn't meant to be, right? And then all of a sudden, a defining moment happened. A defining moment happens to all of us all the time, every day. It's just a matter of understanding them, seeing them, observing them, and doing something about it. The defining moment was this. I turned around and I saw that. And that's my grandfather's tombstone. And he's buried in the Evergreen Cemetery. And the Evergreen Cemetery is on the Boston Marathon course. And I didn't know it. I dropped out right in front of my grandfather. And he said he'd be there. Now, he's not there physically, right? But spiritually he is. He kept his end of the deal. He said he'd be there waiting for me. He was. I picked myself up and I continued. And I finished in 4.5 hours. And I said on that day that I'm going to run this race every year for the rest of my life in honor and tribute to the lesson my grandfather taught me about earning the right to do these things. And I've run it for the last 47 years in a row. And I've always believed that the comeback is always stronger than the setback. Listen, we all go through setbacks. None of us have it easy. We don't have it easy. It's just a matter of understanding how to get through each and every day, how to overcome those hurdles, those obstacles, and the will to survive, the will to win, the will to get through these things. Then I ran it 15 years in a row, and then I got off the job to direct it. I was like, what do I do? Do I run in it or run it? Like, what do I do? I didn't know what to decide. And all of a sudden I said, well, I need the money, I'll take the job. So I took the job, and I'm standing at the finish line of that year's Boston Marathon, and everyone's finishing, and I'm giving them all high fives, and I felt awful. Why? Because I wasn't running in the race. And I committed to doing that, and I want to be an athlete. Yeah, it's nice to direct it, but I want to be an athlete. So I tapped the state trooper on the shoulder, and I said, officer, will you do me a favor? He said, yeah, what's up? I said, will you drive me back to the start? He said, why, did you forget something? I said, yeah, I forgot to run. So he drove me back to the start, 8 o'clock at night, and I took off, and I ran all the way to the finish line by myself, finished at 11 o'clock at night, dead last. And I've run the marathon that way for the last 32 years in a row. Been the last finisher of my own race for the last 32 years. And I don't care that I'm last. I fulfilled a commitment and I'm still able to be an athlete. So 47 years in a row, and so forth. So then, a friend of mine had biked across the United States from Medford, Mass. to Medford, Oregon. I thought, that's pretty cool. He biked all the way across America. And I thought, if he can bike across America, I can run across America. What an idiotic idea that is, right? But I said, no, I'm gonna train. I'm gonna work really hard. So I did. So I ran from Medford, Oregon, all the way across America, right here to Medford, Mass. So it was 1978, June 11th to August 29th, 80 days. I averaged about 45 to 50 miles every single day for 80 consecutive days across America. And I was working at the Hancock Tower in Boston at the time, and I looked out and I saw Fenway Park from my window, and I saw this sign out in right field. At the time it said, "Help make a dream come true, support the Jimmy Fund." So I picked up the phone, I called the Jimmy Fund, and I said, I want to run across America to raise money for the Jimmy Fund. So I went to the Jimmy Fund clinic to see what the Jimmy Fund was all about. And I saw kids like this, and I saw another sign in the Jimmy Fund clinic. And the sign said, "God made only so many perfect heads. The rest of them have hair on it." It made me realize how powerful a message that is. You know what that means? That's all talking about turning negatives into a positive. Turning negatives into a positive. See these two little kids? The kid on the left, his name is Brendan, and the girl on the right, her name is Tara. I didn't know who they were. They were in the clinic to receive treatment for their cancer. And they supported me the whole time. And then I did some other runs, and they supported that too. And then I lost touch with them. I lost touch with them for 35 years, and I thought, they didn't make it. And about a year ago, I'm thinking about Brendan and Tara, and thinking about them and how they supported me, and they probably didn't survive. And then I looked them up on Facebook, and I found them both alive. Brendan's in Rhode Island, Tara's in Florida, and I thought, wow, all the good work that people like you do, and your parents and your teachers and your mentors and your coaches, and raising money for those who are less fortunate and giving back, it works. They're alive. They stayed alive. So here I am running across America. Here I am in the desert, 120, 130 degrees inside the desert. I was the original Forrest Gump, to be really honest with you. I'm just kidding. I don't know why he gets all the credit for running across the country, but. So here I am running across America, and then actually finishing 80 days later. I started ceremonially in the Kingdome in Seattle during a Red Sox Seattle Mariners baseball game, and finished on August 29, 1978. In Fenway Park. I came here to Medford first, finished at City Hall, ran from Medford into Boston, and right there ran inside Fenway Park. It was interesting. I come out of the left field wall, and they said, okay, just come out, run around the warning track, finish at home plate, and then say a few words to the crowd, and then, exit the field. And I said, okay. I come out of the left field wall. The crowd was going nuts. They were screaming and yelling, and the players were going screaming and yelling. I kept going around and around and around. They had to call the police on me to get me off the field. I was so excited about having just run across the continent for the Jimmy Fund. So let's see. Can you advance that? There it goes. There it is. Let me just try and see if I can get this together.
Mariners face the Boston Red Sox. The highlight of this pregame program will be the entrance of David McGillivray.
David McGillivray, who is 24 years old.
He ran coast to coast to raise money for the Jimmy Fund.
Coast-to-coast run from Medford, Oregon to Medford, Massachusetts.
He has just run 80 days, averaging 43 miles a day. A Fenway Park greeting for Dave McGillivray.
Across the finish line after my 3,452-mile run across the country was not just personal accomplishment, but there were people who finally gave me a chance in life. I want to teach other people that when they are being rejected by others or themselves, that it's always another avenue to take. That's the sort of motto that I think by on.
So thank you. So right after I finished, they flew me down to New York City to be on Good Morning America, and the moderator looks at me and says, hey, that's pretty good, you ran across the country. Would you ever do it again? I looked at him like he had 3 heads. Like, why would I do this again? And since then, I've done it a few more times, run up the East Coast and done a lot of other things. Why? Because I don't want to live off my past. I don't want to live off my laurels. I always want to set goals and keep on trying to accomplish. So I did another one about 15 years ago, a trek across the country, and then I did the Hawaii Ironman triathlon, which is a 2.4-mile rough open ocean water swim followed by a 112-mile bike ride through the lava fields in Hawaii, finishing up with a marathon. And I read about it in Sports Illustrated, and I said, yeah, right up my alley, I want to do this. But I had 2 problems. One is I didn't know how to swim, and 2 is I didn't own a bike. So I thought, I better figure this out. So I did, and I trained really hard, and I went there in 1980 and did the Ironman, and then went back again and did it in 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, and 89. Kept on doing the Hawaii Ironman in Hawaii. And then a friend of mine said, hey, you've run across the country, you've done all these different things. Want to run up the East Coast of America? I said, sure, so we did it together. A guy by the name of Bob Hall from Belmont, Mass. Bob had polio. He pushed a wheelchair 1,522 miles up the entire eastern seaboard while I ran next to him the entire way. Now here's a physically challenged person raising money. Yeah. And my brother works at a place called the Carroll Center for the Blind. It's in Newton. And he said, hey, Dave, he said, you're raising all this money for all these different charities. Why don't you raise money for the Carroll Center? I said, well, what do you want me to do? He says, I don't know. He says, you're the one who knows how to do these things. He said, why don't you run the Boston Marathon and raise money? I said, no one's going to give me any money just to run a marathon, because no one did back then. Now, this past year in the Boston Marathon, we raised $39 million for all these different charities as a result. $39 million! No, in a road race. So I met with some of the visually impaired runners, the blind runners, and I said to myself, well, I gotta make a statement. So I ran that year's Boston Marathon, blindfolded. I ran 3 hours, 14 minutes, blindfolded. I had 2 guides with me. They guided me the whole way, and I couldn't run faster, but they couldn't run any faster. That was the problem. So I learned about dependence and independence, meaning that I was dependent on them to get me through the course. Guess what? I never want to put myself in that position again where I'm dependent on someone else if I don't have to be. So the whole lesson here is about taking care of yourself so that you don't burden someone else to have to take care of you for you, and you can put yourself in a position where you can help other people. It makes a lot of sense. So in all these different charity runs that I do, there's a lesson learned in each and every one of them. So I've run 157 marathons, and that's the only one I don't remember because I never saw it. I only heard it. So it's pretty fascinating. And then I did a 24-hour run, finished halftime of a New England Patriot football game at what's called now Gillette Stadium, raised tens of thousands of dollars for other charities, and ran 120 miles in 24 hours. Then I did another 24-hour swim in a pool right here, Medford High School. I swam for 24 consecutive hours, raising money for the Jimmy Fund. I swam 27 miles in the Medford High School pool. Then I did a 24-hour bike ride around Spot Pond. I rode 385 miles all around Spot Pond in 24 hours, again, raising money for the Jimmy Fund. So people say to them all the time, all these different things you've done, what's your greatest accomplishment? And I always say that. My greatest accomplishment is, it's good to know that you've done something in the past, and you use that as a foundation of confidence going forward, but you can't live off the past. I want to take my rear view mirror in my car and throw it away. Because I don't want to look back. I want to look forward. I want to live for today and plan for tomorrow. And that's what this is all about. So then, because I always wanted to play second base at Fenway Park, I said, well, if I can't play in Fenway, I'm going to run in Fenway. So a couple of years ago, I organized a marathon, all inside Fenway Park. 113 laps around the warning track, inside Fenway Park. The first ever marathon, total marathon run inside of a Major League Baseball park. It was pretty cool. Then a friend of mine called me up and he said, have you ever heard of the World Marathon Challenge? I said, yeah. He said, you want to do it? I said, well, the entry fee's pretty steep. He says, no, we'll sponsor you. And I said, okay, fine, sign me up. The World Marathon Challenge is running 7 marathons in 7 days. 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents. So what we all did was there was 50 of us from around the world, about 20 from the United States and the rest from different countries from around the world. We met in Cape Town, South Africa. Then we took a plane ride down to Antarctica. Get off the plane, ran a marathon in Antarctica, got back on the plane, went to Cape Town, and then ran a marathon in Cape Town. And then Cape Town, we flew to Perth, Australia to Dubai in Asia, to Lisbon, Portugal to Cartagena in Colombia, and then finished in Miami. 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents. Here we are running on the ice in Antarctica. It's about minus 10 degrees wind chill factor there. So wasn't easy, but we got it done. Here I am finishing the race and got a bunch of medals. So this is what I mean. This is what I mean about coming back to Medford. Last August, I came back to Medford, and the mayor unveiled a stone monument right at the base of City Hall, right down the road, right at City Hall, a stone monument, commemorating the 40th anniversary of my run across the country. I thought that was pretty cool, so I came back here, did that, and then ran to Fenway Park, and ran into Fenway Park again. And I did it again with 2 little Jimmy Fun Clinic patients, so that was pretty cool. So people say to me all the time, you do all this running, what do you do for work? I said, well, I don't. You don't work? I said, no, not in the conventional sense of the word, because what I do, I love so much. It was funny because years ago when they said, what do you do for work? And I would mumble, I'm a race director. You go, what? A race director? A race director? What do they do? Chalk mark in the road, yell go? Is that what you do? I said, well, yeah, I guess you could say that's what I do. And now when people ask me what do I do for a living, I say I help raise the level of self-esteem and self-confidence of tens of thousands of people in America. Because what this does, putting on events like this, is gives people a chance, gives people an opportunity to set a goal, work real hard, toe the starting line, answer the gun, run the course, cross the finish line, get a medal, and magic happens. They go home feeling good about themselves. And that's the very foundation by which we accomplish anything in life. And that's the lesson learned here for all of you, is the whole idea is feeling good about yourself. Because once you do, you can do anything you want in life. But you just got to get to that point. And that's why I run, for that very reason. So running late. So lessons learned, wrapping this sort of up a little bit. I've learned that there are no mistakes, only lessons, and that the failed experiments are as much a part of the process as the experiment that ultimately works. Listen, what this means is that in life, in my opinion, there's only one way you can fail. One. And that is not to try. Not to try. I hear so many people say, oh, I don't want to do that because I'm afraid of failure. Well, you just failed. Because if you try, you don't fail. You learn. It's a lesson learned. You may not accomplish everything you want right out of the gate, but eventually you're going to get there. But you're not going to get there unless you try. We should always live our dreams. And people who say it cannot be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. So don't let anyone else tell you you're not good enough, that you don't belong, like they did to me way back when. Because you do. You do if you're passionate enough about it. So I wrote a book called The Last Pick. People say to me all the time, what's your book about? I say, it's about the person reading it. In other words, every one of you, truly, I don't name you personally, but every one of you are in this book. Because you can identify, all of you are sitting there, you can identify with this. Life isn't easy sometimes. But at least you're here. Every day is a gift. All of us in this room, right now, all of us, I don't even know any of you for the most part, but I know we all have one thing in common. All of us. You know what it is? We woke up this morning. Not everyone else did. You didn't have anything to do with that. But what happens for the rest of the day is in your hands. It's up to you to make the most of it. It's up to you to make the most of it. And that's why you can identify with all of this. The most important person in this room right now is you. You. You have to take care of yourself. So I wrote the book called Dream Big. And then in the Dream Big book, in the back of the book, it's interesting, in the back of the book. I don't want people to read this book and then put it down and then go play ping pong or something. I want there to be a call to action. And what that means is do something about it. Read the book and then act. And what the act is that I'm challenging everyone is to do the Dream Big Marathon. What's that? Run 26 miles and then read 26 books. So health and fitness, education, and do 26 acts of kindness. Do 26. When you're feeling bad about yourself, a lot of times we can be full of self-pity. And you have every right to feel bad about yourself someday. Things aren't going great. But when you feel bad about yourself, you know how you get out of that funk? Do something good for somebody else. All of a sudden, you feel much better about yourself now that you helped doing something for somebody else. 26 acts of kindness. And when I have thousands and thousands of kids across America doing this Dream Big Marathon right now, which is pretty cool. And then I just wrote this book, Running Across America. And it's all about Medford, running from Medford, Oregon to Medford, Massachusetts. So we should always set goals, not limits. And the worst injustice you could ever do to yourself, the worst thing you can do to yourself is to underestimate your own ability. You all have ability. It just takes a little guts to draw that ability out of yourself. And there's no such thing truly as an individual accomplishment or an individual achievement. It's a team effort. Whether it's playing for the Patriots or the Red Sox or whatever, the Celtics, or whether it's just living life, it's a team effort. It's because of these teachers in this room, and your coaches, and your mentors, and your parents, and your siblings. It's a team effort. They helped you get there. They helped you accomplish things. Don't ever forget it, and always acknowledge that, and always thank them and show your appreciation to them. So, also, I've learned that no matter where in this country my car breaks down, I'll be able to run home. Because I get an extra pair of shoes in my car all the time. So I expect to pass through this world but once. Any good thing, therefore, that I can do and any kindness that I can show a fellow creature, let me do it now. Let me not defer nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. What this means, it means don't procrastinate. You have a goal, you have a desire, you have an objective. Do it now. You don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Do it now. Don't procrastinate. See this little girl? Her name is Katie. Katie called me up one day, and she said, "Hi, my name's Katie. Can I come visit you at the Boston Marathon office?" I said, "Sure." I don't deny anyone the opportunity to come visit. I'm no better than anyone in this room or anyone on this planet. You want to come see me, you call me, you write me, you email me, I'm getting right back to you. I'm no better than you. Sure, come on in and see me. She comes in in a wheelchair. I'm like, oh, okay. She goes into the conference room. I look across the table, my jaw dropped. Katie was 26 inches tall. And she looked at me, she says, "I have a question to ask you." I said, "Yeah, what's that?" She says, "Can I run the marathon?" I said, "You want to run the marathon?" "Yeah, I want to run the marathon." I thought, I paused, I said, "Ask me a difficult question." She said, "I can?" I said, "Yeah, you can run the marathon." "I can run the marathon." "Yeah, you can run the marathon." She said, "Well, I got a caveat." I said, "What's that?" She said, "My marathon's 26.2 feet. I said, "Okay, that's okay. Your game, your rules. 26.2 feet. I barricaded 26.2 feet from the starting line to 26.2 feet away. She comes out of her holding area in a wheelchair. She gets in a walker. There she is. She gets in a walker. I yell, "Go." She takes off. Took her about 10 minutes to go from here to there. But she did it. I put a laurel wreath on her head and a medal around her neck and gave her a big hug. Gave her a big hug. She did it. And then, about 9 hours later, I'm running my marathon, and I'm running down to the finish line, and I can see one person waiting for me at the finish line, and there's little Katie waiting for me. And she puts a laurel wreath around my head that she made, and a medal around my neck that she made for me. And she looks up at me and she goes, "Ha, I beat you." She beat me. Katie had about 35 operations at Children's Hospital, and about 6 months later, Katie died. But it was her game, her rules. Get it? Get it? She did it. She did the Boston Marathon. It was the most memorable moment. I've been involved in this race now for 47 years, the most memorable moment I've ever seen in the Boston Marathon. So don't neglect the most important things in life, which I think is family, So I see this little boy. His name is Jack, okay? Jack had a brother whose name was Joe. Joe was born with an illness called cardiomyopathy. So he had a broken heart. Joe died of cardiomyopathy when he was 7. Jack was born with the exact same thing, cardiomyopathy. Imagine having that all in the same family. I became friends with Jack. Jack and I became good friends. I used to give him all my medals. There's my Boston Marathon medals around his neck. He loved medals. So I said, it's more important he has them than I have them. So I gave him all my medals. So he was on the donor list looking for a new heart. And if he didn't get one, maybe at age 7 or 8, he wouldn't have survived either. And he was able to find a donor and had a heart transplant just a year ago. And then all of a sudden, I'm out running one day, and I could feel some difficulty in my chest. I'm like, what's going on here? And it was difficult to breathe. So I went to Mass General Hospital, and I had all these tests done. I had echocardiogram, stress tests, pulmonary tests, all kinds of tests. And the doctors all said the same thing. There's nothing wrong with you. I said, yes, there is. I can't breathe when I'm running. I said, you gotta give me the big boy test, guys. You gotta look under the hood. Something's wrong with me. So they did. They did a CAT scan and an angiogram. And the doctors come in and they go, there. I said, there what? They said, you have severe coronary artery disease. I said, I do? How can I be that sick? I said, what do I have left? And they said, well, we don't know. I said, well, I have a question to ask you. They said, well, I said, is this reversible? Like, can I change this? They said, well, it depends. I said, depends on what? And they said, depends on the person. I said, well, you're looking at him. Hello, McFly, I'm right here. They said, you, with your discipline, we think you can have an impact on your own illness. I said, well, sign me up. Sign me up. In about 5 months, I lost 27 pounds, lowered my cholesterol level by over 100 points, and I reversed my own severe coronary artery disease by over 40%. Why? Why? Because I wanted to live. I wanted to live. Why? For obvious reasons. And also, my work's not done. I still want to help and give back. So that's when I went back to Hawaii. I did the Ironman. And then I went and did the World Marathon Challenge. And then all of a sudden, that was 5 years. And I thought, I beat it. And then it all came back. It came back. I went to the hospital, Mass General. They did another angiogram on me, and the doctor says, you got 90% blockage in your main artery. I said, well, what are my options? He said, well, number one is do nothing, but you'd have to live a sedentary life. Just cross that off. He said, we could stent it, but it's really risky where it's located. I said, I don't want to take a risk with my heart. Cross that off. They said, oh, we can do bypass surgery. I said, cross that off. They said, well, you've run out of options. I said, well, yeah, I guess. So I turned to the doctor and I said, listen, in 6 months, there's this little jogathon in April that I've run a few times. If I have this surgery, you think I can still do the marathon? It'll be my 47th. And he gave me the best possible answer. He didn't say, yes, you can, or no, you can't. He said, I'd be extremely disappointed if you couldn't do it. I thought, that's what I needed. You know what that was? It was a thing called hope. He gave me hope. Like, I can get through this. It's interesting because when they first told me I had coronary artery disease, I turned to the doctor and I said, listen, zip it up. He said, what? I said, don't tell anyone. They said, why? I said, because I'm embarrassed. I said, here I've run all across the country, done all these Ironman, done all this stuff. Dave the athlete, Dave the fit guy, the whole bit. And I have coronary artery disease. I don't want anyone to know it. It's a ding in the armor. And then all of a sudden it leaked out. People are finding out I have coronary artery disease, and they're all writing to me. And they're saying, hey, I heard about your illness. I had the same kind of symptoms. I went into the hospital, I walked out with 3 stents in my heart, in my arteries. You saved my life. I said, I saved your life? Yeah, you saved my life. I said, no, you saved your own life. They said, well, if it wasn't for you and you're creating an awareness, I wouldn't be alive today. So now, Massachusetts have a public safety campaign that says, if you see something, say something. I say, if you feel something, say something. If you feel something, say something. Do something about it. Advocate for yourself. Don't be embarrassed. Take action. Take action for yourself because you're, again, the most important person. I went through 5 stages. First one was, and we all go through this, denial. I was like, nah, not me. Second, this is an interesting one. The second emotion I went through was anger. I was mad. I was mad at anyone and everything in my way. I said, it's almost like the why me syndrome. And then negotiating, like I went to the doctor and said, are you sure? You want to take another look? Maybe I should get a 5th opinion on this. No. And then all of a sudden depression. And then lastly, acceptance. Accepting it. This is what it is, folks. Accept it and make the most of it. So I did, and I trained, and I trained, and I trained, and I was able to do this year's Boston Marathon. There's little Jack. He ran the last 100 yards with me, my son Luke. It was the most memorable moment in the 40 years I've ever run the Boston Marathon, finishing this past year's Boston Marathon. Look at him giving me the medal. So I want to leave you with this. Time has run out. I got till 10:20. But honestly, I was sitting where you were. And in many times in my life, at your age, I was a little doubtful. Will I make it? You know, can this happen? Can I achieve? Can I accomplish? And I just was so determined that if I couldn't go left, I'm going right. I'm going to find another way to get done what I want to get done in my life. And I was able to do that, and I'm trying to continue to do that. So, at the end of my life, I'd like to think I gave everything I had, and then some, until I simply run out of time, which I just have. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much. So, actually, we have 2 things to give away at this point. One is a shirt for Dave. Thank you, Dave. This is our shirt, very proud. And then there's another shirt I'd like to give out, and that is for a student that has overcome a lot, and I would like to call it Davis Craddock, please. Is he here? All right. Come on up, Davis. And then one small thing, actually it's not a small thing, Dave has something to give to Davis.
So have you ever run in a race? Okay. So everyone, let's give Davis a round of applause right now. All right. So I just gave Davis one of my, it's called an inspirational medal. And basically what I want to suggest to him that someday he run in his own road race and get his own medal. And when he does, on the back of this medal is my home address. And when you get your own medal, you can mail this one back to me and I can give it to somebody else to try to inspire them. So hopefully someday you'll run your own race. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrews Middle School, for being a great audience, and have a great day. Thank you.